Well, this week, the theme of my devotions is going to be learning to trust God. For those of us who are Americans, we can look at our coins and see the phrase, "In God we trust," but putting that trust into practical action in our daily living is a little harder than just putting words on a coin. And so I hope throughout this week, as we look at different passages about trusting or failing to trust God, that it will be helpful for you in growing in trusting God on a daily basis. So we begin in Exodus 16. This is the passage I'll be preaching on today, and this is about the time in the wilderness. And let's look at verses 2 and 3. I encourage you to look at verses 2 through 15 on your own, and I'll highlight verses 2 and 3. The whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the fleshpots and ate our fill of bread, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Now you may be wondering, why is Doug smiling when he's talking about people complaining because they're scared they might die of hunger in the wilderness? It's because of how the Israelites remember their past. I mean, there are rose-colored glasses that we sometimes talk about through which we see things. This is rose glasses times 5, right? Because we know from the Exodus story earlier, what was life like for them in Egypt? They were making bricks without straw. They didn't have enough to eat. They were slaves. They were beaten. They were at the absolute lowest rung of the socio-economic order in Egypt. And they're looking back saying, "Oh, I wish we were back in the good old days." What, the good old days when you were enslaved? When you didn't have enough to eat? You got to be kidding. But this is what we can do, isn't it? When we're going through a hard time or a testing time in the present, we can look back at the past and idealize it and make it actually seem like it was much better than it really was. And that's what the Israelites are doing here. And as we will hear throughout this passage that I'll be preaching about, the complaining doesn't stop here. They keep complaining against God, against God's representatives, Moses and Aaron, and then God provides for them but tests them, and some of them don't pass that test either. We have to learn to trust God, to accept God's word when God says, "I will be with you," to believe that God will be with us. So may today be a day where you trust more than you complain.